Hey guys, OG Albina here, bring you guys our APA Little Cup Wi-Fi Season 4 draft analysis here. Miami big on her back, hopefully looking to finally take home that Little Cup championship. Now, this is a run that we actually this is a league that we actually commissioned, ourselves and run. Season 1, for those of you who haven't been around for a long time, Season 1 we end up going 10-0 in the regular season, and we lost round 1 of playoffs. Season 2, we ended up going, what was it? 8-2, 9-1, something like that. And then I think it was 8-2, and then we ended up losing in semifinals. And then last season, in season 3, we ended up going 9-1 in the regular season, and then losing in finals to TPB, unfortunately, who was actually the only person to beat the regular season as well. So if the pattern prevails, I'm hoping that means this season we'll be able to win the title. But you never know. We have some great coaches in this season, some of which we'll be uploading. I'll definitely link them in the description below. But I'm really hoping to sweat and take home this championship. Despite playing a lot of Little Cup, doing a lot of Little Cup draft, I actually don't have a Little Cup championship, so it'd be really awesome to get. But with that being said, before we jump into the draft analysis, I do want to say that only a good 30-35% of you guys who are watching the vids each and every day or week or whatever are actually subscribed to the channel. So if you're enjoying the videos and you're watching them, you might as well drop a sub. It's free. It helps me out and it lets me know that you're enjoying what I'm doing and all that good stuff. We're pushing for 400 by the end of the year, and that would be absolutely awesome if you could help us get there. But yeah, let's go ahead and jump on into the draft analysis. So going into the draft, I actually had the first overall pick. Second overall pick. I'm so dumb. So going into the draft, I actually had second overall pick, and that leaves a lot of things on the board left for me to try. Now, we allowed pretty much everything that, Little Cup, besides, some absolutely, stupid busted Pokemon. Like, we're not allowing Scyther or Sneasel or anything like that, but pretty much all the LC mons that are, borderline broken in our draft settings, especially in the limited decks, we did allow. So Mienfoo we allowed, Ghastly we allowed, all that good stuff. And first pick ended up going Mienfoo, which is probably what I would have drafted because I've tried Volibee, which, spoilers, is what we grab. I've tried Ghastly last season. I've tried Abra. I've tried a lot of I've used Ponyta a ton on side leagues that I haven't uploaded. So I've used a lot of those Pokemon. But Mienfoo ended up going first, which left Volibee and Ghastly as my main two options of things I wanted to draft with my slot. And personally, I did try Ghastly last season. I thought it was great. I absolutely loved it. I did, killed it with it. But I think Volibee is a much better Pokemon overall, and I had to snag it up with my first round pick. This thing, if you haven't played Little Cup and you don't know, is ridiculously versatile. I absolutely love Volibee. Its typing is phenomenal. Little Cup, obviously having Stab Knockoff is great in a tier like this where nothing ever wants to lose their item. You have Weak Armor as a great potential pivoting option, especially with the Berry Juice options. You can really stop some potential scary offensive mons and outspeed them and outpace them. You have access to U-Turn, you have access to Defog, you have access to Heat Wave for Steel types, which really opens up those nasty plot sets, which are really terrifying. So there's a lot of great, you get Taunt, you get a bunch of crazy things that make this thing absolutely amazing. I love Volibee. I think it's absolutely phenomenal in a format like this, and I'm really excited to use it again. We had it in Season 2, it was great for us, and I'm hoping we can kind of capitalize and keep it going this time when we have it. So yeah, with that being said, let's go ahead and jump into round 2. So round number 2 came along, and I ended up picking up Chinchou. Now, if you know Volibee, you know it appreciates a good Volt Switch user to form a really solid Volt Turn core with it, and I think Chinchou is one of the absolute best to do so. Now, in Season 2, when we had Volibee, we actually drafted Magnemite in the slot. 1, because we were sniped to Chinchou, and 2, because they pair together very well because of Chinchou being a good fairy resist and a good fairy killer and things like that. But Chinchou has great merits with Volibee as well. I actually could have grabbed Magnemite in this slot again, but I really wanted to try out Chinchou, and I figured that Magnemite, while it's very solid, it's not as good as it was last time with the loss of hidden power, in my personal opinion. So I think Chinchou's dual stab and LC is ridiculous, and I think the one thing that can, somewhat pivot in on Chinchou and not be, super damaged is going to be grass types. And what does Volibee really take on super well after you Volt Switch out with your Chinchou? Grass types. It takes them on phenomenally. Not only that, Chinchou also pairs with Volibee very well in the sense that it does get Volt Absorb, so it gives us an electric immunity which is really nice for our flying type at the centerpiece of our team. It gives us water absorb as well, which is another potential immunity on our team, which can help us out later on with potential other members on our squad, which I think is really, really cool. Like I said, it gives us a very solid Volt Turn core. Chinchou has great coverage. Outside of its dual stab, it has Ice Beam, which is pretty much all you need is just the dual stab plus Ice Beam. But we get like Dazzling Gleam for some, dragon types that, might be 4 times a week, I guess. Question mark. But we can discharge, we can thunder wave things, which obviously is super, super great. We can be cool charge beam sets as well to boost our special attack and be more of a, sweeping menace potentially, depending on our opponent's speed tiers. And speaking of speed tiers, this gives us a Pokemon that hits 17 speed at max speed, while Volibee only hits 16, so it's a nice speed tier to hit. So I think these two in particular form a really nasty Volt Turn core to get the rest of our team in, and each other in very well, and I think that we'll really be able to pressure and put a lot of hurt on this opposing teams with these two right here. So in not picking up Magnemite, one of the things we kind of do miss out on that specific Volt Turn core is we lose a really good Fairy Killer, and Landit, which we got with our round 3 pick, is a great Fairy Killer in my personal opinion. Obviously, it's a 4 times resist. While it's not the bulkiest thing in the world, being a 4 times resist is very, very nice. And with the Volt Turn core that we have right now, we can get them for free very, very often on those potential bulky fairies that want to come in. And this thing is ridiculously strong, and it's ridiculously scary. It has a great speed tier and hitting 18, so we're at 16, 17, and 18 pretty much right now, which is obviously a really nice gradual climb. It gives us pretty fast. Flame Charge is a speed boosting option. Nasty Pod to boost up its special attack. It still has corrosion shenanigans, though you won't see Toxic as much in Little Cut just because of the way that the damage ticks down and things like that. It's still definitely a very, very viable option. It gets knockoff for utility and cool things like that. It gets Fake Out to break Sturdies and stuff. It's a really, really solid pair just to break down those fairies with its, Poison Stab, and it also complements Chinchou very well at break down those grasses. So I think it's a Pokemon that really benefits from those two U-turning and Volt switching around in particular. And like I said, it's a great speed tier. It's a really, really solid offensive threat to go with our Volt Turn core, like a good wall breaker just to come in and click a button versus opposing teams. But yeah, let's go ahead and jump on to round 4. So going into round 4, I'm kind of looking at my team and I'm realizing, 1, I don't got a Stealth Rocker. 2, I lose to the combination of Earthquake plus Stone Edge or Rock Slide or Rock Blast because this is Little Cup. I know most teams are obviously going to be Edgequake weak because of just the nature of it covering so much in the game. But this team in particular, I mean, I have Chinchou and Landit, which drop to an Earthquake, and I have Volibee, which does not want to take on most offensive grounds with boosting it, with any way of boosting their attacks. So I figured Baltoy was a phenomenal fit on this team in particular. Not only that, it gives us Rapid Spin, so we're not pigeonholing Volibee into a defog roll, and we're getting some of the spin away rocks from Volibee, which I think is very important. It gives us our own Stealth Rocker, and it gives us something to resist and check those ground types, which I think is really, really important. Now, Baltoy is a Pokemon I've used a bunch recently on off-screen and other Little Cup leagues, and I love it. I think it's great, and I haven't actually gotten to use it with Scorching Sands yet. If you don't know what Scorching Sands is, it's a new 70 base power special ground type attack that is basically ground type Scald. It gives a 30% chance to burn the target, which I think is awesome. This thing has great coverage as well, and like Ice Beam and obviously Psychic and Shadow Ball and a bunch of cool options like that. As a potential Trick Room setter, like I said, it gets Spin, it gets Rock Polish to sweep on that side, potentially it gets Calm Mind, Dazzling Gleam as well for some cool coverage. This thing is really, really versatile. It's not the most strong thing offensively. It has 40 attack, 40 special attack, but this is Little Cup. Everything's going to be taking a lot of damage. It's just how things work in Little Cup. So I really do think that makes Baltoy a potentially, great endgame win con, depending on what the opponent's team is, and just a great support mod, giving us Spin, Rocks, and that Edgequake, resistance in one, which really does help out this team. But yeah, let's go ahead and jump on into round 5. Round 5, I ended up picking up my second tier 3 in Yamask. Now, Yamask is a really cool Pokemon because not only does it give me potential Spin Block for our hazards, which we may get some more of later on. Right now it's only Rocks, but obviously Stop and Spin is very nice. It gives me a good fighting type check as well. My flying type right now is neutral to it. Baltoy is a little bit pressured and obviously taking on the ground types as well, though it can check a lot of fighting types as well. It doesn't appreciate, knockoff coming at it, or a potential U-turn from some of them as well. So I figured that Yamask, while also weak to knockoff, isn't is a bit more of a sturdy tech for things like that. It's very, very bulky on the physical side, having 85 base defense, which is great. It's just a very, very big nuisance to opponents and teams, and it kind of patches up my big fighting weakness that I kind of have right now. It gets knockoff for some good support in that way. It gets nasty paw to potentially be a sweeping threat, though it's obviously very, very slow. It gets trick room as well, so nasty paw trick room like Shadow Ball. It'll potentially be great if my opponent doesn't have a normal type or a good resist to Shadow Ball, and we obviously get decent coverage in Energy Ball and Psychic and things like that. So I think Yamask is a really, really good value pick in tier 3 for our round 5 grab. Round 6, we ended up picking up Eevee. Now, despite being super, super cute in appearance, this thing is an absolute offensive powerhouse. Now, if you don't know Eevee, one of its abilities is actually adaptability, and if you don't know Little Cup, on top of that, something that's very, very good in the tier is actually normal spam. If you don't have a good ghost type, which there isn't very many of, and if you don't have a good steel type, there isn't very many of, strong neutral hits are great in this tier, and normal is obviously great at that, and being able to throw off adaptability, double edges, and body slams and things like that is phenomenal. We get Baton Pass because Dry Pass is allowed. We can use Baton Pass as a momentum move. It gets priority and quick attack, which is again amazing. Stab, adaptability, quick attack is going to pick off a lot of scary threats when they're weakened, which is awesome. It gets access to Heal Bell, so it gives us a Fringe Cleric if we really, really need it. I think Chinchou gets Heal Bell as well, but if we don't want to run on that, that's obviously really, really solid for us. And it gets options to hit potential ghost types in some niche options in like Shadow Ball, which you do have to run mix for that, or full special, but it does have 45 special attack, so not the worst thing in the world. And it also has access to Bite, and that does sound a little bit ridiculous using Bite competitively, but this is Little Cup, and like I said before, everything is very, very frail. So I think Eevee is a very strong offensive powerhouse Pokemon, especially when you take into account we have some great breakers like Landit, and we have Baltoy from those rock types and steel types as well, while Landit breaks down those steel types and stuff like that. So I think that Eevee is going to be actually a really scary offensive wall breaker in some specific matches with either a Choice Scarf or a Life Orb or something like that, really punching holes through opposing teams. So going into round 7, I wanted to pick up a tier 4 Pokemon. Now tier 4 is the lowest in Little Cup draft. It's just kind of how it goes. It's tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, tier 4, and as you can see, we get 2 tier 3s, 2 tier 2s, a tier 1, and a tier 4, and there is like nothing in tier 4. It's a very, very barren tier, just because the bad Little Cup mons are very bad. So there's very few things worth picking up in said tier, and I want to make sure that I got something that was usable at the very least. And so I jumped in there a little bit earlier than most people, and I grabbed what I think is the best Pokemon in said tier in Dreepy. Now Dreepy, its main downside is obviously the fact that it has no move pool. It has an awful move pool. It has Draco Meteor, which is obviously great just because of the fact that there aren't a lot of fairy types in the tier and there aren't a lot of steel types. It gets access to Baton Pass, which is really cool as well because we are allowing Dry Pass. It gets access to Sucker Punch, which is awesome. But other than that, not much going for it in the move pool department. It gets Thunder Wave as well. It gets Astonish as its Ghost Stab, which is not the greatest in the world. But it does have its niche uses in each matchups. It has a good speed here, and it's the only real usable thing in the tier, in my opinion, at least for my team. So I wanted to jump in and make sure I grabbed something down there as early as possible, so I wouldn't be stuck with a Combi or something like that. So going into my next pick, I kind of realized, wow, I have one Stealth Rocker. I have one Stealth Rocker, and I have one Flying Resist. So something I really wanted to do was pick up a rock type, and looking in tier 2, there was nothing. Looking in tier 3, there was one singular Pokemon that really fit that role, and that's Binacle. Now, Binacle isn't the bulkiest Pokemon in the world. I believe it is pretty bulky on the defensive side, to be fair. It has 67 base defense, and then 42 HP, so it can take those physical flying moves decently, be a nice, nice little pivot into them, which is nice, and it gives me another Stealth Rock, which I think is very important. But something else it gives me that I didn't really have on this team, outside of maybe Baltoy and then obviously Volibee, was a setup sweeping option, because Binacle obviously gets access to Shell Smash, and I think that's great. This thing has Tough Claws, so Tough Claws +2 liquidations are blowing through 98% of the tier. It gets Rock Blast as its other stab, which is great. It gets good coverage like Earthquake and you know, brick break and cross chop and things like that to hit potential steel types and things like that. As for, you know, grasses, you do get options. You can go potentially like mixed. You can go X Scissor, which is, you know, obviously probably the better move because that is going to be Tough Claws boosted, and it just gives me that kind of typing and roll that I really needed out of a Pokemon in Tier 3. Obviously, I would have liked a more defensive rock type, like a Rock and Roller or something like that, but there wasn't really anything left in the tier at this point where I could pick it up. So, Binacle should do the job, though, and it poses a good offensive threat in a lot of games as well. So, if you look at the squad up to this point, you'll notice Owen, you are still very Edgequake weak because you don't have a ground resist. You're right. Let's pick one up right now. If my last tier 2 pick, I ended up picking up Snover. Now, Snover is a really cool Pokemon. It does set the Hail, which is cool. Which is going to affect our last pick as well. As you'll see, we get a really cool Pokemon down here in tier 3 just for my buddy Kurt. You know he's going to love the pick a bunch. But Snover is a very, very solid offensive Pokemon to look up as well. And it has good natural bulk and 60 HP and 50 defense and 60 for def, which is nice. It gets Ice Shard priority. Its dual styles are very solid. It doesn't touch steel types very well, but I think our team deals with them pretty solid overall, with between Landit and Voltoy and Volby Heat Wave and, you know, Eevee pressuring them and a bunch of different things, really taking them on pretty solid. Chinchou obviously can hit them hard and resist the stab, so that's obviously cool. And this thing is just a very, very strong and very annoying Pokemon, throwing off 100% accurate blizzards and, you know, Giga Drains, and then being able to, you know, pick things off with Ice Shard and stuff like that. Very, very valuable. It also gets access to Wood Hammer, so it can be full physical, it can be full special, it can go mixed. Very solid Pokemon. I hate switching into this thing offensively, you know, when I play against it, unless you have a good fire, good steel type, and if not, I think our team deals with those pretty well regardless. So that's going to be our round 9. Let's go ahead and jump on into our last pick of the draft. If you draft Hail, you gotta draft an abuser, and that's going to be Chinchou. Now, when you think weather abuse and, you know, scary Pokemon under weather, you probably don't think of Chinchou. You might think of Beartic, but this is just going to kind of be the mini version of that. But I honestly think it's better in this tier than obviously Beartic is in the standard singles draft, because the pool isn't as big and not as many things. You know, a lot of things are more pushed together speed tier wise. So Chinchou actually outspeeds a lot more than, you know, Beartic would in the standard draft setting. We hit 14 speed, which means we can get up to 28 in the Hail, which means we'll outspeed pretty much all Scarfers outside of like base 18 and 19 mons, I believe. I don't remember the number exactly off the top of my head, but regardless, we're going to be very, very fast in the Hail if we do have Snover. This thing has solid coverage. It gets Superpower for potential steel types. It gets Surf for, you know, potential fire types and things like that, because it can definitely go mixed. It has 70 attack, which is big, but it also has 60 special attack. So mixed Chinchou is 150% an option. Ice Punch is going to be your physical stab of choice most of the time, and other than that, you're going to be fitting on Superpower, Surf, maybe even a Power Up Punch, a Night Slash, a Play Rough, something like that to really catch your opponent off guard. You can go Blizzard as well to be like, you know, a really strong mixed wall breaking set with, you know, Ice Punch Blizzard or something like that. You know, you never know. I think this thing is very, very solid, and I really do like it on this team. I think it'll put a lot of pressure. Our team is kind of like pressure steel types a lot, so you know, the other thing on our team that don't like steel types can, you know, potentially thrive. So they're gonna have a lot of defensive pressure on them, like a Q-Fan versus our team. While we have something like a Salandit to kill it probably in one hit, and a Voltoy to check it decently, not really. The rest of our team kind of forces it in a lot to where it's not going to be the biggest start, and I think a lot of steel types are going to do that. And I really do like our team. I don't think it's like the most broken LC team we've ever drafted. We've had some pretty disgusting teams in Wi-Fi seasons in the past, but I think this is a team that I'll really use well and you know, be able to drag the most out of. There's a lot of mons that I haven't tried yet too that I'm really excited to use, and there's a few mons on here that are definitely super comfortable in using. So hopefully we can you know, string together a season that not only is, you know, successful in the regular season, but more so successful in the playoff run, so we can finally have that LC championship, and then I can kind of relax a little bit with this league and, you know, stop sweating so hard and stuff like that. But who am I kidding? I'll probably never stop sweating. But yeah, that's going to be the squad. I'm really excited to play this season. I hope you guys are too. If you're excited to see LC content, come back to the channel. Be sure to drop a like and drop a sub if you haven't done so already. With that being said, though, I will catch you guys in the next one. Later.